You'll give me just a second. Will you get a notification?
Yep.
Let me know when you get it.
All right. Got it.
All right. What is going on, everybody? This week I'm taking a shot at hosting this thing. I'm your host, William Richard, aka NASCAR Opinion, and on the other side of me, as you can see, is
stop lying. It's your boy Armany I, aka Velocity Ecstasy.
Yeah, what's going on, man? It has been a crazy week of NASCAR news, to say the least. It's been wild. It's almost to the point where people forget that we even had a race last week.
Yeah, speaking of the race last week, so that's what we're going to talk. We're going to recap Phoenix last week. Obviously, all that good stuff. Jimmy Tracker. And then we'll go into, this whole coronavirus epidemic and what that means for the future of NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. It's been crazy. So first, let's get into it. Obviously we had Phoenix. And, me and you've been working on this kind of new page and setup, how we want to do it. And so what we're going to do is you pick something from Phoenix, then I'll pick something from Phoenix. So mine kind of leads into what you're going to be able to discuss. So I'll go first on this. And that is the short track package obviously debuted at Phoenix. And it seemed to be a pretty good success. Cars were really able to drive, really able to race. You saw guys come from the back to the front. You saw mix-ups, change of position. So I thought it was a really, really good success for NASCAR. I thought that it was really, really neat to see kind of the dynamic that we saw. Cars were able to race, reminded you of back in the day when you could really move around, really race against other cars. Short spoiler, it helped that a lot, a little bit higher horsepower. I just thought it was a nice little throwback, and it was really, really cool to see that. And, it impressed me. I think it impressed a lot of fans, and a lot of people are hoping we, are going to have a great, great season of racing. If, obviously, we'll get to later if we get back to racing at some point with this new package.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the race last week, but from the clips I saw, it looked like a pretty good race. And I know it was overtime. Like Logano, didn't he? He won by just a couple tenths over Kevin Harvick. So I saw it was really competitive. I'd looked through the NASCAR app. It looked like Chase and Harvick, they were never more than a tenth away from each other. It seemed to be really competitive throughout the field. And you had a lot of good stories too, which I'll get to my takeaway of the race in a minute. But I think that this short track pack, especially at Phoenix, is a success.
Yeah, you looked at it, you had a bunch of mix of everything. You had a guy like Chase Elliott who had a fast car, but he would kind of stall out and then he'd fall back and he'd have to scratch and claw his way back in. Then you had your guys like, I'm trying to think, I think Harvick was up front for a big portion of the race. I'm trying to feel, for some reason I can't remember who else was in front the entire race, just because there's been so much freaking news over the last 3 or 4 days. It's almost like Phoenix was 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Chase had a good car. Kyle Busch was able to work his way to the top 5 at one point, and you saw just a nice mix. And, hopefully this is going to be something that we can keep on for, Bristol, Martinsville, road courses. Hopefully this will be kind of the dynamic as the year goes on. I think the next time we would see it would probably be trying to think, because so Martinsville's first state's moved back to the summer. It's either got to be Bristol or Richmond. I think Bristol's always first. And that's again, assuming to what we'll get to the pretty much second half of the show, when and if we go back racing, assuming the schedule goes on as normal, which obviously it's not at this point, then it would be Bristol or Richmond where we first see this package again if I remember correctly. So I guess go ahead and get into yours, because it seemed like with this kind of old school package, we saw a couple of guys that had been struggling this year have some success. So hit on those guys. Waiting on Armani. He must be gathering his thoughts here. There you go.
Well, sorry about that. Turns out it's on my end. Why am I not surprised? All right. So yeah. So I guess I'll go into my point of it is going into it. This is the first race, or I would say on race 4, but this is the first race I feel like the rookies finally are starting to show up. And we'll start off with, the easier point to talk about, which is Cole Custer. Finished 9th in the race, started 16th, ran top 15, top 20 most of the race long, and then worked his way into the top 10. So good job for Cole Custer. That's a that I believe, yeah, Storehouse Racing had all 4 cars finished in the top 10. So good day for his SHR. But the rookie I really want to talk about, Tyler Reddick. Ran pretty much top 5, pretty much the entire race until he had his issue. He had his tire go down. He DNF'd out of the race. He was as high as second at one point, which is kind of ironic considering his sponsor for that race. I am second.
Second.
But Tyler Reddick, he put on probably, in my opinion, he was if NASCAR would have to be like Formula 1 have driver of the day, I'd put Tyler Reddick as driver of the day because, I mean, he's showing why. I mean, you talked about before, like how Tyler Reddick is like seen as like the savior for RCR. Performances like he did last week, show it. I mean, he was running like top 5, pretty much running top 5 until he had his issue. So, and it's a real shame that he had his issue. So, we don't know exactly where he might have finished, but I guarantee if he wouldn't have finished top 10, he would at least finish top 15. So, I mean, and this isn't the first time we've seen that out of Reddick. I mean, when he's not having issues, he's always running inside the top 15, always, fighting for a top 10. I mean, he did it in Vegas. He did it, I believe. He also did it, I believe, in Fontana as well. And obviously, last year, in his second career start at Kansas, he was racing for the win.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Reddick, talking to a person that's involved in that situation, I mean, they look at this as like a rebirth of RCR. He did a great job at Phoenix. I think he eventually just got too aggressive, got up on the wall, cut a tire down, and pretty much ended his day. But, I mean, it makes you think, okay, well, maybe obviously the short track package is more in the driver's hands. We've seen Tyler Reddick is a great race car driver. We know that for a fact. You put him in a decently competitive car, and he's going to go compete in it. He did it at Brad Keselowski Racing. He did it at Ganassi. He did it at Junior Motorsports. He did it at RCR. And he still sometimes gets underrated. And he showed it again, man. I mean, he was running top 5 and was earning a top 5 in a Cup Series race at Phoenix. Obviously got too aggressive. He'll learn from that. He's young. He's got spunk. He's going to go for it. So it'll be interesting to see what he does moving forward. But he wasn't the only rookie that he was the only rookie that really flashed, but there were some other guys that came away with solid finishes.
Yeah, the only rookies that were really of relevance were like Cole Custer and Tyler Reddick, but you have Christopher Bell. He's continuing to have a rough start to the season. He started 15th, but finished 24th. And last time I checked, did Christopher Bell really have any issues that race?
I feel like something happened during the day. I couldn't remember I think he may have had a flat or something. I feel like I remember something happening. But again, like I said, it feels like it's been 2 weeks since we've had a race, just from how much news and stuff has broke since we've last seen cars on track. So I don't think he had any major issues. But I know Custer got a top 10. Bale was kind of whatever. John Hunter Nemechek, I think he had some moments where he was running top half of the field for the day. And then obviously you have your other guys like Brennan Poole, Quinn Hoff. I know Half wrecked his car. So I know those guys had a little bit of a rough day.
Yeah, Cole Custer top 10. Reddick, he ran top 5, but DNF because of that tire. Christopher Bell, he finished 25th again. Struggled season. John Hunter Nemechek, another top 25 finish, so not too bad for him. As for the other rookies, obviously, like Quinn Half, Brendan Poole. I mean, they're going to finish in the 30s, unless you're at a play track and you don't wreck. So, I mean, that's it really for the rookies.
So now we get to go to your favorite guy. What in the world did Jimmy Johnson do last week?
All right, so let's give a look at my boy. So my boy Jimmy Johnson, he hasn't really been that flashy with the next gen car at Phoenix. This is probably one of his. He ran about lower half of the top 10, like top 15, pretty much the entire day. He started to work his way up. Like he was running around, like anywhere from like 8th to 14th, around that range. So not bad, not too flashy, but not horrible. At the end of it all, he finished 12th. So not really a lot to talk about for Jimmy Johnson. He's still 5th in points with 1 top 5 and 2 top 10. So last time he was top 5 in points at this point of the season was 2016. And I think we all know what happened to 2016.
Yeah, that is true. And then that kind of leads us. So, when we were talking about doing this show, we knew we were kind of limited when we found out kind of what was going on. And so usually we would talk about Jimmy Johnson at Atlanta and the Jimmy Tracker and how it's going, but obviously that kind of got paused. So pretty much to the meat and potatoes of what this show has been is obviously there's been the announcement that was so the string of events is through like Wednesday, we knew everything was normal. I think even through Thursday. I know I was potentially trying to get a hot pass for Atlanta. And the guy that I usually go through, I said, hey, have you heard any updates? I haven't heard any updates because usually you get them sometime Thursday, but it had been like 1 or 2 o'clock. I hadn't heard anything. Still hadn't heard an update. So I was like, just curious, do you know if there's been a holdup or anything? Because this is obviously the NBA's announced they're suspending their year. The NCAA tournament's been, canceled. So those things are piling up, and you're kind of having the natural feeling that NASCAR is eventually going to make some sort of decision involving coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. And so he said, well, nobody's heard anything back yet, which kind of pretty much told me, yeah, you're not going to be going to Atlanta this weekend. And then I think it was Friday, they said, okay, we're going to make a schedule change, and we're going to run trucks Friday night. We're going to run Xfinity and Cup on Saturday, have everybody out of here on Sunday. No practice. The only time you're on track is qualifying in the race, which I thought was an awesome idea. I just thought it would be really cool to see guys not be able to practice and break down their cars. And then about an hour or two later, at first I was kind of throwing NASCAR under the bus, which is my fault. I'm fairly certain they got shut down by the state of Georgia. And they said, nope, you're calling the weekend and everybody needs to go home. So obviously the races were canceled. And now we're sitting here 2 days with no NASCAR. And it's been pretty intriguing, pretty interesting. So, people have heard a little bit of my personal thoughts on this, but let me get your take, Armani. What do you think about this whole situation going down?
Well, first of all, in my opinion, at least the coronavirus is, unless you're like 75, 70 or older, you're gonna unless you're 70 or older, unless, you never wash your hands in your life, you're not going to die. So in my opinion, it's not really that big of a deal. However, I do understand the precautions that everyone wants to take to, because this virus is very contagious. So I understand the precautions that everyone wants to take. That being said, and I understand the NASCAR got shut down by the state of Georgia, but at the same time, it's I feel like there could have been a better way to handle it, to where you didn't have all the teams pretty much already show up to the track, and then after that, it was like, oh, okay, now you got to get out.
Well, I think their hand got forced because I think NASCAR had full intention of running that race. They announced, and that's the part of the plan I forgot. I think it was Thursday they announced they were going to run with no fans. That was the first sign of things were changing. And I think their hands were forced because, remember, as of Friday at 12 o'clock, they were like, okay, well, we're going to run the trucks tonight. I mean, the truck series teams didn't even have notice. We're going to run tonight, get your stuff ready. Well, let's qualify at 4, races at 7. And then within a matter of an hour or so, we hear that they're shut down. So I can't fully blame NASCAR. I think NASCAR's true intention was we're going to do the best we can. You got to think about it. It was really an opportunity for NASCAR. Obviously, they didn't know Atlanta going into the week was going to be this crazy, and obviously now it's not even happening. But there's no basketball on. Football season's not going on right now, or at least the XFL had announced they were suspending their regular season. I mean, this was an opportunity for NASCAR to be the only sporting event on television this weekend, which brings a lot of eyeballs to you. So I think NASCAR was going to do everything they could in their power to run the race. And then when the government forces your hand, you don't have a lot of notice. So I was in the same boat as you for at first when I was like, man, I mean, I even tweeted, I said, they've dropped the ball on this. They fumbled the entire weekend. Because in my eyes, I thought it was NASCAR making these decisions. Well, NASCAR made all the decisions the correct way up until the government shut them down on Friday. So I can't really be upset with NASCAR when it was the part of it. It looks logistically bad. It looks bad from a PR standpoint, but NASCAR did everything in their power. I like their idea of no fans. I like the idea of changing the schedule. Every decision NASCAR actually wanted to make was a good decision. It's just when the state of Georgia comes in, there's nothing else you can really do at that point. But really looking at this, the question I think we're all walking around with is, when are we going to get racing again? We know Atlanta's postponed. We know Homestead's postponed. So we know at least for this weekend and next weekend, there's no racing. Experts have said this could last months. I've heard some people say it could last 12 to 18 months. We really don't know. I mean, we're about to go into a situation I've never lived through, that you've never lived through, that a lot of people have never lived through, where schools are about to get shut down. North Carolina schools and a bunch of other states are already shut down for at least 2 weeks. I'm intrigued to when we're going to get racing again, and what is the impact of us not having this?
Well, yeah. So basically, like down here in South Florida too, all the universities, all the schools are shut down for the time being. So as for the impact, it really depends on how long this lasts for. If it is just these two races that are canceled, I think you will see NASCAR try to put them back on the schedule, whether it's through midweek races or through like the 2 week stretch for the Olympics on NBC, and they just slap it on Fox. If we get to the point where we're missing 4+ races, so we missed Texas, we missed Bristol, we missed Richmond, we missed Talladega, I do think you will see some of those events canceled. And then the question is, which
Right.
races are you going to cancel? In my opinion, they'll probably cancel the races that are on FS1.
In my opinion, I would think it's going to depend on the big thing to remember is this is the last year of track contracts. And so in this kind of situation, how much does NASCAR have to fulfill those contracts? So my initial idea would be they would probably cancel some of the races that have double events. So for instance, Atlanta and Homestead only have one race a year. It would make a lot of sense for them to work those into the schedule. Richmond and Talladega, you could either A, have a similar Pocono situation to where you run both races in the same weekend, or maybe not Talladega because then you're having two playoff races, so that could get a little tricky. Or at least you could say, listen, this is what happened. At least Talladega had one race. At least Richmond had one race. You know what I mean? And you find a way to do something else down the road or whatever. So I feel like it's easier to do something with those tracks that have two dates than it is with one. But I do think what you're saying is correct. I think it's all going to depend on our time frame. I mean, if we miss a week or two, we're going to be able to make up these races at some point. But if we go a month and a half without racing, I agree. There's going to be some significant schedule changes, and there may be a track or two that just has to bite the dust. And then think about this from just a viewership standpoint. I was talking to you before we got going. I mean, this was already a huge momentum killer. I feel like NASCAR's been 4-0 to start the year with 4 solid races, and the momentum seemed to be carrying week to week, and now it's kind of stopped. And, what happens if we're out for 8 weeks? That significantly changes. If we can't make up races, that's less opportunities to make the playoffs. That's less chances. We're now there's certain tests with the next gen car that are being canceled. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go into play. And then what if we're in this situation for 6 to 8 months? I mean, I don't think it happens, but I mean, there's a chance that we may not see racing again. I think it's very small chance we don't see racing again. But at some point, if NASCAR goes 2, 3, 4 months into the year and we still haven't raced, you've kind of got to make a decision.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go like that long racing again. I've heard like some reports. China, Israel, they're already developing vaccines for the coronavirus. So I think we are gonna get racing again. I do think that Texas and Bristol might get postponed, and in that case, I think one of them is going to be canceled. Out of all of them, I think Bristol's going to be the one that's canceled the most, just because of that attendance of that race is usually so. But yeah, because and in some ways, it could actually kind of be beneficial to NASCAR, because in a way, it's like, yeah, like I can understand what you're saying, like about the momentum killer, but at the same time, it's like when NASCAR says, okay, we're back this weekend, everyone is going to be excited. It's going to kind of be like how the Daytona 500 is, where it's like everyone's just excited that NASCAR's back. So everyone's going to be like, okay, finally, we made it through this. NASCAR's back. Let's go and watch the show.
I'll give you that point. That is a point to make, obviously, because it's almost like another. We got a taste now. Assuming it's more than 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be like another off season where we go a month without racing. So I'm intrigued. I hope it's only this 2 weeks. I hope we get back racing. It stinks because obviously this is what we all enjoy on the weekend. We don't have anything on. I mean, my TV's not even on right now. I'm over here trying to find random originals on Hulu. So it's going to be crazy. We have no timeline for what's going to happen. And, I hope just society in general can calm down a little bit. It's been a wild last 3 or 4 days. It seems like really everything was normal up until like last Tuesday. And it was like Wednesday and on, everything just started. One domino hit another domino, and they just kept stacking. And now we're in a situation where literally schools are being shut down, businesses are closing earlier, so there's no sporting events, there's no big events, concerts are canceled. There's been churches that have closed their doors. I think it's a meeting of either 100 or 200 people or more. You can't do. We were breaking the law on that last night, if that's in effect, because that was a dirt track and there had to be 500-600 people there, if not more. So at least I got to see some racing this weekend. I guess that's something to be proud of. But that's all I've got for this week, man. It's been crazy. You got anything else you want to say on it before we get out of here?
I got nothing. I mean, like I said, just wash your hands, wipe yourself, all that good stuff. Just the things that you should have been doing anyway. Just get more on top of it.
Get more on top of it. Hey, look right there. You got some sanitizer right there.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you're already ahead of the.
Well, we appreciate it. Obviously, me and Armani will have a lot to discuss throughout the week about what we're going to do, if we're going to still have some more shows as the weeks go on. Because right now there's not anything to talk about. I mean, this is the story, and then a week or two from now, is this still going to be the story? So we'll see. I'm sure we'll know a lot more about this thing. I mean, so much is picked up within a 4-day span. I imagine by this coming Friday, which I'm hoping my home track that I work at opens, my small little asphalt track. I'm hoping we get to run, and that'll be fun. But who knows what could change in the next week. So we appreciate everybody listening. We're going to be active on Twitter, I'm sure. I wish there was a race to tweet about today and be active on, but appreciate everybody taking a little bit of time out of your day to listen to us and to hear what we've got to say for the last 20 minutes. And with that being said, we're out of here. See ya.